Welcome to Mind Over Matter. Today's guest is Kurt Bush, trauma informed coach, certified IFS practitioner, and co founder of Brimstone Coaching Group. Kurt brings a rare mix of soul and strategy, helping people rewrite the stories they have been unconsciously living. From imposter syndrome to true self leadership, Kurt shows us how to encounter from our earliest formation still echo in our present, and how, with awareness, we can shift from reaction to transformation. Get ready to rethink your origin story. So, Kurt, you talk about first formations. How do these early encounters shape the way we show up today?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first formation, this gets used a lot of ways. We use first formation to mean like the ages from what we would say in like a Western elementary school, like I don't know, 5 or 6 to like the age of 18. This would be considered first formation in the circles we swim in. And I think what's true is that all of us are learning how the world works. We're learning what meaning to make out of the world. We're learning what meaning to make out of every encounter we have with an adult or with an authority figure. And we would say that those moments, those encounters, those are what we call little T traumas, not a catastrophic big T trauma or capital T trauma, but a little T trauma, meaning that those encounters teach us something about the world. They either teach us that the world or authority or adults are safe, or they might teach us that the world is dangerous, or they might teach us that our classmates or our colleagues or our neighbor kids or whoever it is, maybe it teaches us that those things are actually dangerous and that we need to protect from those things. So we believe that each of us have those encounters and we make those meanings and we build those meanings into behaviors that keep us safe. And those are probably really good for younger versions of ourselves. But often what we find is that we as humans we just carry them into adulthood as automatic responses, whether they serve us well or not. We carry those in, but we really believe those get cemented in our nervous systems at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And why do we often remain unaware of their influence for so long?
Yeah, I think because we just assume it's normal. I have just an example. I went to get my master's degree late in life, and I had never written a master's level paper. I didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't know what I was doing, and I was exhausted. I was overwhelmed with imposter syndrome. I was overwhelmed, feeling like I didn't belong. And honestly, I felt like this was normal. I felt like this is how adults adult, if I can use that word as a verb. I think many of us just assume that these ways of being are just normal and that everybody does them and everybody experiences them. And I think when we believe they're normal, then we don't really look at them. We don't really examine them. We don't really ask the question, is this beneficial for me? Is this productive? Do I like these ways of being? Do I want to hang on to these ways of being? Because I think then the threat is maybe I'm not normal, right? If I believe this is just how adults adult, now the threat is, well, maybe I'm abnormal, and I don't want to look at those. So I think often they just get caught up in this myth that these things are normal, that everybody does these things, and this is just what it means to live as an adult. I really do think it's just as simple as that, Anya.
Mm-hmm. That's so real. We think we are choosing freely, but so often we are reacting from old scripts. Awareness feels like the first real power.
Yeah, yeah. Awareness. I think awareness is. We would say self awareness is the closest thing to a secret sauce as there is to growth and transformation and change in our lives. We would say it like this. Sorry, I'm saying we. I co-own a coaching practice, and in our coaching practice, we would say that once we see something, we can't unsee it. So if I see in my own life that I'm behaving in a way that, I don't know, 3rd grade Kurt would have behaved to stay safe, once I see that, I can't unsee it, but I do get to decide if I want to hang on to that or if I want to change that. I think you're absolutely right. Self-awareness is in my opinion 100% the first real powerful step to change and transformation.
Mm-hmm. So, what's the difference between the meaning of an event and the meaning of we make from it?
Yeah, this is such a good question. Can I use you as a volunteer? Can I ask you a question to illustrate a point? Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, so if let's say, for example, let's say I'm moving to a new house or to a new apartment next weekend, and I need help moving. So I'm gonna send you, Anya, a text message that says, "Hey, friend," let's pretend we've known each other for a long time. "Hey, friend, can you can you help me move next weekend?" And your response is just no, just 2 letters, no. I mean, what meaning could I make out of that? If you're me, what meaning could you make out of that scenario?
Um, that you don't want to help me, or you probably think it's the burden to actually help you move. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I could interpret that you're mad at me. I could interpret that you there's something wrong with our relationship. I could interpret that that I didn't help you move, so now you're retaliating against me. Or I could also make the meaning that says you're busy. Or I can make the meaning that says you hurt your ankle and you can't lift heavy things. The reality is that there is a truth to these things, right? I send you that text message, you reply no. There is a true reason why. But I have the option to say, "Oh, hey, Anya, can you help me understand, why not? What's going on? Help me understand the truth." Or I can just kind of retreat into myself and believe the story that I tell, which is usually going to be the most negative, and usually I think going to be tied to our first formation as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, how does that difference show up in leadership, relationships, or confidence?
Yeah, yeah, that's such a good question. I I think leading in leadership positions, and I want to say I think we all lead something. I think everybody has someone or something that they lead. Maybe it's a traditional organizational leadership. Maybe it's leadership in a home, raising children. I think everyone leads something. And I think what's so true is that, and this is very cliche, I'm sorry, but I'm going to get to a point here. But I think as the leader goes, right? If the leader is constantly making the most negative meaning out of things, not seeking to understand what's really so. If the leader's doing that, then the team is absolutely going to do that, which will just hamper the team. You know, there's nothing that gets in the way of team dynamics, like an email that gets sent out from one team member to another team member, and one team member makes all sorts of meanings about what that person meant. Like, that just destroys team dynamics when the team's unwilling to say what's so for them and name what's true and ask what's true and be curious and that sort of thing. So I really do think the leader sets the tone for that. The leader sets the tone to say that we as a team are not going to fall into the trap of making easy meanings. We aren't going to fall into the trap of assuming the worst in others. We aren't going to fall into the trap of allowing our past to influence how we're interacting together today. I think what's true about these first formation encounters is we rely on them so much, and we live into them so much because they feel so real, right? We feel them today as if it's happening to us today, but it's really not happening to us today. It happened to us years ago. So I think a leader is one, is one, and it's so important that they do the work to say what is true today and what was true yesterday that I don't have to live into today.
Mm-hmm. That subtle shift, meaning versus the meaning inherent, is massive. It's how we go from stuck to self-authored.
Yeah.
Mhm. So you use the formula E plus R equals to T. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, thanks for asking. We call this our transformational equation. We also believe I believe that transformation happens over time, slowly over time, right? I think what's been true in my life, I'm assuming what's been true in your life, and probably the listener's life too, is that I think we can grow every day. We can transform a little bit every day, but large scale transformation in my life happens slow over time. So we call this our transformational equation. E means encounter. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of encounters every single day with situations, with people, with triggers. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of these encounters every day. And what we want to invite our clients to and the listener to is to then move into this R. R is reflection. And again, we think reflection is probably the closest thing to a secret sauce here. That when we have an encounter, um, maybe even in the middle of our day, if we have an encounter, the invitation then is to take that encounter and reflect on it and begin to ask real questions like what happened in that encounter, what did I feel in that encounter? What was stirred up in me in that encounter? In a real factual way, what did I do in that encounter? Like, how did I respond? Not assigning any good or bad just yet, just asking the question, how did I actually respond? And then maybe the last bit of reflection is the next time this happens, would I want to respond a different way? And then what do I need to respond a different way? We actually believe if well, we believe it because we've seen it in our own lives. If we work that equation, we have an encounter, we reflect on it, we actually believe then that that will lead to transformation. Meaning transformation in this case, meaning that next time these things happen, we can respond to them in ways that are more aligned with our truest selves, more in line with the self that we want to be, and more aligned with the behaviors and the responses that we desire for our lives. Again, I think there's a temptation to sort of y take this flippantly, this equation to mean if I just do these 2 things, that's gonna lead to transformation. We do believe that, but again, I think that is really hard work that happens slowly over time.
Mm-hmm. So what happens when we skip the reflection piece entirely?
Yeah, th that's great. Um, I don't know anything about math, so I don't know what happens in an equation when you pull one thing out, but here's what I'll say about not doing the reflection. I think I'm gonna assert and theorize today, I think if we skip the reflection piece, we just do what we've always done. Um, these first formation encounters, um, they cause us to again build these protections to keep us safe. And what happens is our autonomic nervous system. This is the same system in all of our bodies that gives us our fight, flight, freeze responses. Those nervous systems, they begin to do that in an autopilot way. So again, third grade Kurt had an encounter. Well, now 40-year-old Kurt is going to have a trigger, and my nervous system is going to say, "Danger! This is the same thing. Avoid this. This is not a good situation. Get out of here!" Or fight, flight, freeze, whatever it is. And when we don't do the R piece, when I don't reflect, I think that autopilot, that default in our nervous system will just continue to drive the bus. It will just continue to do what it's always done. I'm not a science person, but there's a law of motion in physics. This is one of Newton's laws that says an object in motion remains in motion until it's acted upon by an outside force. I think many of these patterns of behavior that we carry from first formation are like that. That we'll just continue to do them until we do something different. And I actually believe that without the R piece, without the reflection, we will never find a different way. Maybe we'll never even be aware that there is a different way. So I think without the R, to answer your question, I think without the R, I think everything just continues the way it's always been in our lives.
Mm-hmm. It's like you're handling people the manual to their own growth. That our reflection is where the magic happens, isn't it?
I really do think so. I I really think so, and it's really hard. I'm assuming you've done some self discovery based on what I've seen. I'm assuming you've done your own self discovery, and it's really really hard. I have a client who talks about reflection and self-discovery, like one of these old toys. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's an old toy that it looks like a can with a screw-on lid, and when you screw the lid off, there's these springs that look like snakes that pop out of the can, and it's like supposed to scare you and all this stuff. This one client of mine says that self-discovery can kind of feel like that sometimes. If we start to reflect, if we start to discover, it can feel like, man, everything is going to come out, and I don't know what's in there. I don't know what I'm going to find. And that can be true. I think we always want to pair reflection with a healthy dose of gentleness and self-compassion, to help our clients say, if reflection does get really hard, take a break. If it stirs up something in you that's painful or difficult, take a break, you know, come back next week. But I think you're right. That is where the magic happens, and I think it is magic because it's hard. Often, the hardest things in life produce the greatest fruit.
Mm-hmm. So, how does internal family systems come into play in helping us rewire these old narratives?
Yeah. Are you familiar with internal family systems at all?
Not exactly.
Okay. So I'm gonna try not to get too nerdy. I can get a little nerdy. So for the sake of everybody listening, I'm gonna try to keep this short. Internal family systems is a theory. It's not mine. It's a theory from the 1960s that says that inside of us are multiple parts, multiple multiple selves, if you will. Like we are one self. Internal family system would say we are one self, but we're made up of multiple parts. If you've ever seen the Disney movie Inside Out, that is 1,000% based upon internal family systems. So if you or the listeners not seen that, the movie Inside Out is fantastic, and it explains this really well. But these parts of us, maybe they're the part of us that's angry, or the sad part, or the happy part, or the joyful part, or the disappointed part. That all of these parts of us make up a whole self. And internal family system says that at some point in our first formation, we are likely to to welcome some of those parts really openly, but we're also prone to exile some of those parts. um, for me, I exiled the angry parts because I was taught at a young age anger's bad, and we shouldn't ever be angry. But each of us have these parts that we've exiled. Um, we we also would say, our internal family systems would say, that there are also parts of us that are that are firefighters and managers. Firefighter parts of us jump into situations where it feels like there's danger. Maybe the firefighter is the one that's like soothes, self soothes, or tells us there's nothing wrong, or jumps in and organizes, or gets things done to feel safe. The manager is a part of us that kind of keeps everything harmonious within us, keeps our lives kind of harmonious. But those managers and those firefighters keep those exiled parts exiled. So in our work, we believe that the key to wholeness, the key to aligning ourselves with our truest self, is to be able to welcome those exiled parts of us back into our whole self. To be able to to welcome for me in my case to welcome anger back, and say, you know, to say, anger, thank you for doing what you do in me. Thank you for alerting me to something. Internal family system says each one of these parts genuinely desires our good, genuinely is working for the good of our whole self. So we help our clients identify those exiled parts and help them welcome them back instead of keeping them suppressed and keeping them distant. Again, we believe that that's the way to wholeness, and that's the way to alignment with our whole selves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, have you seen surprising parts of people emerge once they feel safe enough?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in the Midwest of the United States, and I'm not sure I'm not sure how well the stereotype makes it out of the Midwest, but in my neck of the woods here, where most of my clients are, there's sort of a stereotype that says we are very nice, even if we're angry, even if we are resentful, that we are going to present as nice. We call it Midwest nice. What goes along with that is that many people in this region just don't know how to be angry, or don't know how to be sad even. So those are the parts that I actually get to see people welcome back most often. And I don't know that I would say that's surprising. I don't know that I have a surprise part that I've seen show up, but it is really beautiful. It's really beautiful to see someone, um, say to this angry part of them, I see you, and I thank you for the part that you're playing in my life, and I thank you for what you're trying to do. That's really beautiful. I think the other thing that stands out is, again, every one of us has a firefighter. um, the firefighter is trying desperately inside of us to keep us safe. There is something that I just really love, when I get to help people ask that firefighter to take a break. Maybe that firefighter keeps us frantic, keeps us, well, I'll give you an example. My firefighter says, "Don't look like a failure." My firefighter does everything that it can to keep me from looking like a failure. There was something really beautiful in me when I got to say to my firefighter, "Hey, I don't think the danger is what it used to be as a kid. Why don't you take a break?" There's something really freeing about that. There's something really, really healing about that. And I love the theory. I love the work. And yeah, I think those are the ones that stand out. Telling the firefighter to take a break and welcoming in anger and sadness in a way that acknowledges their presence is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. IFS always blows my mind. It's like meeting yourself for the first time, part by part.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, what's one powerful shift someone can make today to begin living a life more aligned with their truest self?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the R piece. I mean, you did a good job. I appreciate you saying that it was where the magic happens. I think if I could give a listener one practical thing, I would say find 5 minutes today. Find 5 minutes every day. Maybe it's at a lunch break. I have some clients that do this at lunch break. Maybe it's at the end of the day. Five find find 5 minutes, and reflect on the day. And it doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't even have to be like written. I think there is something helpful for some people to put pen to paper and write some things down. If that's you, listener, please do that. But take 5 minutes and just reflect. What has gone well for me today? Where have I shown up really well? Where have I reacted out of anxiety? Where have I reacted out of a way that I don't understand? Where have I done something, or behaved in a way that I might wish I'd have done differently? Um, and again, I think once we start to recognize those things, I think that is really the first step, to saying, now I can be different or do something different. So that's the tip I would give. Find 5 minutes a day, just reflect on what's so for you today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, if today's conversation sparked something in you, trust it. As Kurt showed us, you don't have to stay trapped in the patterns of your past. With reflection and intention, your old story can become the foundation of your new freedom. So, slow down, get curious, listen to your inner paths. The life you long for is already calling you. You just have to answer with truth. So, catch you next time on Mind Over Matter. Stay whole, stay brave.